In July 1954, a man arrived at Tokyo airport with a passport from a country no one had ever heard of. The passport was real. The stamps were real. The country, Taured, was not. He vanished from a locked hotel room that night. And ever since, people have been seeing him everywhere. This isn't fiction. This really happened. And if you follow the spiral long enough, you might not come back. Tokyo Haneda Airport, July 1954. It was a routine summer morning. The customs line moved slowly. Tourists yawned. Businessmen shuffled paperwork. Immigration officers stamped passports with half-focused eyes. Then he stepped forward. Well-dressed. Calm. Respectful. Mid-40s. Caucasian. Slight accent, possibly French. He handed over his passport like everyone else. But when the officer opened it, something immediately felt wrong. The country that didn't exist. The passport was legitimate. Embossed cover. Proper formatting. Travel history with official stamps from France, Spain, and Japan. But the country of origin? Taured. The officer blinked. Looked again. Never heard of it. Taured? He asked. The man nodded. Yes, of course. I'm from Taured. It's in Europe, near the border of France and Spain. The officer excused himself and called a supervisor. Within 10 minutes, airport security surrounded the counter. Interrogation room 4C. The man remained calm as he was escorted to a private room. He was not confused, not angry, not evasive. In fact, he seemed irritated that he was being delayed. I've been to Japan 3 times this year, he said. This is routine. I have a business meeting in Tokyo this afternoon. His wallet contained currency from several European countries, corporate business cards, a driver's license, a checkbook. All matched his name. All matched the passport. All listed Taured as his nationality. The map incident. Customs officials pulled out a large world map and placed it on the table. Show us where Taured is, they said. The man looked confused, then amused, then angry. He pointed directly at a small area where Andorra exists today. It's right there. I've lived there all my life. When told that Taured didn't exist, that it had never existed, the man turned pale. That's impossible, he whispered. I've never even heard of Andorra. The hotel room. Not wanting to escalate things publicly, officials decided to detain the man overnight at a hotel. He was escorted to a room on the top floor with 2 armed immigration officers stationed outside the door all night. His briefcase was taken and secured. Inside the room, no phone, no balcony, only one window sealed shut. A bed, a desk, a chair. No way out without being seen. He calmly agreed to stay the night. The next morning, at exactly 10:15 a.m., officials returned to the room. They knocked. No answer. They unlocked the door. The room was empty. No signs of escape. No disturbed furniture. No broken locks. No footprints. Nothing. His briefcase, which had been stored separately in an airport security vault, was also missing. And every piece of identification and paperwork that had been copied the day before? Gone. The report that was never filed. What makes the story more disturbing is how it survived. There is no official police record, no Interpol alert, no missing person bulletin. But several airport employees and immigration officials later leaked the story over the years, some in interviews, some anonymously. The Japanese government has never confirmed or denied the incident, but internal memos obtained decades later reference a case titled, "Yuso, Unverified Subject, Origin Unknown." Was he a fraud? Skeptics argue it was a hoax or a case of forged documents. But here's the problem. No one ever claimed the passport was fake. In fact, it scanned and stamped properly. The man had genuine visas from multiple countries. His behavior was too confident, too grounded to be delusional, even if he had fabricated it all. Where did he go? What if he wasn't from here at all? A theory began to circulate in early conspiracy circles and occult literature that the man wasn't a spy, or a con artist, or a lunatic, but someone who had somehow slipped between timelines from a world like ours where Taured exists to ours where it never did. A world one breath away, one mistake away, where one wrong flight takes you somewhere you don't belong, and maybe, just maybe, can't come back from. The real horror? What if the man didn't disappear? What if he simply shifted again? And he's still out there, still traveling, still trying to go home. Officially, the man from Taured never existed. No name, no file, no digital footprint. Yet whispers of his sudden appearance and vanishing never stopped. And then, almost 30 years later, he appeared again. Not in person, in a photograph. dated long before the Tokyo incident ever happened. The photo in the archive. In 1983, a Tokyo University historian digitizing colonial-era photographs came across a group portrait from Yokohama Port, 1912. Among the group of Japanese and European travelers stood a sharply dressed man. Same age, same face, same angular features, same thin mustache, same smirk. His lapel pin showed a coat of arms from a country no one could identify. And beneath the photo, scrawled in black ink, arrival of foreign delegates from T Republic. The T was underlined twice. Could it be him? Photo enhancement tech in 1992 matched the facial structure to the 1954 Haneda Airport sketch leaked by an anonymous customs officer. Eyebrow arc, nose angle, chin slope, a 92% match. But the man in the photo would have had to be in his 80s by 1954. Unless he wasn't aging. Or unless it's not the same timeline at all. Alternate geography. In 1960, a small conference on cartographic anomalies in Geneva, Switzerland, invited geographers to present unexplained map references. One speaker, Dr. Alain Sorel, a French historian, referenced a map he'd inherited from his grandfather, dated 1852, drawn by hand, between France and Spain, a nation labeled Taured in the Pyrenees. It included a capital city named Tamanville, a crest featuring a spiral sun, a note, unified after border crisis 1492. He was laughed off the stage. But decades later, when he saw the 1954 sketch, that's the man who came to my grandfather's house. When I was a boy, he said he was looking for a way back. The spiral crest, the same spiral sun crest that appeared on the map, would later appear in a strange place. In a declassified airport memo uncovered in 2008, one security officer noted a disturbing detail from the 1954 Taured incident. The man became visibly upset when we questioned his passport. He opened his briefcase and pointed at a coin. The coin bore a 7-armed spiral. It was made of an alloy that didn't match any known regional currencies. The memo was redacted in several places, but the word vortex appears 6 times. What was in the briefcase? The contents, according to a leaked security report, included a map with non-standard country names, an identification badge with holographic threading, a metallic object described as a pen, possibly a wand or antenna, and a small spiral-carved pendant blackened with heat. All were logged. All vanished with the man. No fingerprints were ever lifted from the items. One guard claimed, "I felt a headache when I touched the pendant, like someone else's memory was in it." He was reassigned weeks later. Is someone covering it up? Former JL employee Hideo Araki, now in his 90s, broke decades of silence in 2020. He said, "We were told not to talk, that he was an experiment, or a mistake. The scary part wasn't that he left, it's that the room was clean. Too clean. Like it was never used. Even the linens were folded. Like the bed hadn't been touched. The man with no shadow." There's an often overlooked part of the original story. A customs worker recalled, "When he stood under the fluorescence, it was wrong. I don't know how to explain it. He had a shadow, but it looked like it was leaning the wrong way." Another said, "He blinked, but I never saw his eyelids move. What if he never left?" Some believe the man from Taured didn't vanish from the hotel. He was removed, not abducted, but retrieved by whatever or whoever sent him here to begin with. And if that's true, it might mean others have arrived since. Maybe not with fake passports. Maybe not with briefcases. But watching, waiting, wondering if this world is theirs or ours. The final note for today. When asked why he came to Japan, the man allegedly replied, "Business. I have a contract to sign." When asked with who, he paused, then said, "I don't remember their name, but they'll recognize me." Then he smiled. They always do. In most stories about the man from Taured, the horror lies in how real he seemed and how completely he disappeared. But what if that wasn't the end? What if he didn't vanish silently? What if he left something behind? Because in the decades since 1954, there have been strange echoes scattered across the world of the same man, the same spiral symbol, and the same name. Not rumors, not myth, evidence. The passport that shouldn't have been printed, Belgium, 1997. At a small customs station near Bruges, a traveler arrived with a faded passport that baffled local authorities. The border agent, Peter Delaire, documented the incident in a handwritten report since leaked. The passport was stamped with valid entry and exit stamps from the mid-1980s. but the country of origin was again Taured. The page numbers were backwards, descending instead of ascending. The holographic seal showed a spiral sun, just like the 1954 case. When questioned, the man simply said, "My country was erased, but I still remember the exit." The passport was confiscated. The man was detained overnight. By morning, he was gone. Room locked from the outside. Window sealed. Sound familiar? The psychic and the map. In 2003, a Japanese psychic named Kumi Tanaka gave a public reading during a television program. The segment's theme was dreams that feel like memories. She drew, without prompt, a map. It showed France, Spain, and a country between them labeled in katakana as Taured. She claimed, "I dreamt I was born there, that I came here by mistake. There was a light and then a different sky." This was broadcast live on NHK. She had never heard of the 1954 case. When shown the Haneda sketch years later, she became visibly shaken. "That man, he came to my dreams. He asked me to draw the way back, the language that doesn't exist." In 2018, an independent linguist discovered a note slipped into a returned book at a library in Andorra la Vella. It was handwritten in a language no one recognized. But when analyzed, it followed Indo-European grammar. Its root structure matched Catalan and Occitan, and one word appeared repeatedly, Taured. When converted phonetically, the phrase translated to, "Not gone, just moved." Sound remembers. The spiral in static. In 2006, a Japanese ham radio operator near Hokkaido picked up an unexplained transmission on a dead frequency. The recording lasted 3 minutes, 33 seconds, consisted of low, modulating hums, and ended with a whisper layered in distortion. "You erased my home, but you kept my shadow." The audio file, when analyzed visually, formed a distinct spiral pattern in the spectrogram. Researchers at the time assumed it was a prank, but when compared to the seal on the Taured passport, it matched perfectly. What was he trying to tell us? Several theorists, including parapsychologists and cross-dimensional researchers, now believe the man from Taured may not have been here by accident, but rather on purpose. They suggest he may have been a cartographer, a diplomat, or even a messenger, and that his message wasn't political, but existential, that he was proof of a break in reality. A warning, perhaps. Asterisk, the walls are thin. You don't notice the cracks because you live inside them. What is Taured then? Here are the 3 leading theories. 1. Alternate Earth theory. He came from a parallel world nearly identical to ours, but with key differences. A mistake, a glitch, or a thinning barrier allowed him to pass through. 2. Time fragmentation theory. Taured existed and still exists, but was erased retroactively by some kind of time event. He remembered it because he was inside the fracture point. 3. Memory entity theory. Taured is not a place, but a conscious idea, a self-aware memory that needs human minds to remember it to exist. The man was its last vessel. One more appearance. In 2021, a schoolteacher in Toulouse, France, posted a photo from an old attic box. It showed her grandfather and a tall man in a white suit. In the corner of the photo was a date. September 11th, 1954. 2 months after the Taured incident. But the man standing next to her grandfather? Same angular face, same spiral crest pin, same faint, knowing smile. When she posted the image online, the original tweet read, "He said his country was gone, but that we'd remember the shape of it someday." The image was removed within 48 hours. Her account was locked. Her school received an anonymous letter requesting her termination. It was signed, Consulate of Taured. There is no such embassy. As the man from Taured story spread across time and borders, a disturbing possibility began to emerge, one that shifted the tone from mystery to warning. What if the man wasn't a one-off anomaly? What if he wasn't lost, but sent? And what if he wasn't the only one? This chapter isn't just about disappearance. It's about arrival. And what might have followed. The Engineer's Diary, France, 1986. In the early 2000s, a set of notes and schematics were uncovered in the attic of a deceased electrical engineer in Dijon, France. His name was Theodore L. Bachelet, a mid-level researcher who worked with early particle containment fields in the 1970s. The notes, written in a spiral-bound journal, referred repeatedly to a concept he called transitional echo points. Bachelet believed certain areas on Earth naturally functioned as dimensional pivots, where memory, matter, and identity slipped. Most people never noticed them. But in the final entry, dated 1986, he wrote, I saw another one today. Same man, same face, not a day older. Third sighting in 5 years. The suit never changes. He ended with a single phrase repeated 12 times. He isn't alone. He's a scout. The spiral negative. An art restoration technician in Milan was repairing a canvas from the 1800s, a painting of a coastal mountain, when something strange was discovered. Beneath the visible brush strokes, hidden by old layers of pigment, was a spiral sun emblem. It matched the crest seen on the Taured passport. More disturbing, when photographed using infrared negative imaging, a faint silhouette became visible, a tall figure in a white suit, standing on the mountain peak. The image was carbon dated. The underpainting was older than the visible surface. But the suit, the proportions, modern. The curator wrote in her log, "We didn't restore this. We revealed it, and I think it was waiting." The twin incident, Warsaw 2015. Twin brothers, identical in every measurable way, were born in Warsaw in 1992. In 2015, one of them vanished after a solo backpacking trip through the Pyrenees. He was never found. The surviving twin received a letter 3 months later. No return address. Inside, a photograph of him, asleep, a drawing of the spiral crest, and a message in elegant cursive. "You are the correct one." The other was a misprint. The elevator footage, Tokyo 2018. In a luxury hotel near Shibuya Station, security cameras caught a strange incident. At 3:33 a.m., the elevator doors opened on floor 9. No one inside. The camera in the hallway then picked up a man stepping out anyway. Thin, pale, wearing a white suit, black shoes with no laces, no bag, no room key, no identification. His face was pixelated by distortion, but only in real time. The feed glitched, the file corrupted. Yet on the next day's system logs, the entry showed a visitor name, Guest of Taured. Single night. The database field was uneditable. The log vanished the next day. Are they just observing? Across all credible sightings, the man or his duplicates never initiate contact. They seem confused, then composed. They vanish when pressed, and they leave behind some form of spiral-based marking. In 3 separate cases, witnesses later reported, "I remembered things I was never told, places that don't exist here, a sunset I've never seen, but I know exactly how it felt." The spiral, more than a symbol. In 2019, cryptographers ran the Taured spiral crest through recursive fractal rendering. The shape began to replicate itself in layers, forming something eerily familiar, a topographical pattern, specifically the elevation map of an area that doesn't exist. And no country matched it, no landscape matched it, but when overlaid on the Pyrenees with alternate historical borders, a space opened, the space where Taured would have been. And in the dead center, a circular depression, labeled only as Exit Field 3. The real horror? What if Taured wasn't destroyed? What if it didn't disappear? What if we did? What if our version of Earth is a wrong turn, a collapsed draft of something cleaner, purer, more stable? What if the man from Taured didn't arrive here to escape, but to reclaim what was once his? And now that he knows where we are, he isn't coming back alone. By now, the tale of the man from Taured had crossed from rumor to obsession among conspiracy theorists, researchers, even physicists. He wasn't just a ghost in customs. He was becoming something else. A signal, a warning, maybe even an invitation. And some believe the door he came through wasn't accidental. They believe it was opened. Project Dendra, 1962. Recently declassified documents from a Cold War-era experiment known as Project Dendra have given terrifying weight to the idea of intentional dimensional access. The project was conducted jointly between French and American researchers in a remote location near Lascaux, France, not far from where the Taured crest was first uncovered in ancient cave paintings. The goal? To create a synthetic gravitational overlap field using a coil array powered by microwave bursts. The language in the debrief is cold and clinical, but buried deep in a technical appendix, one handwritten phrase was underlined in red. Subject appeared in field, not ours. had no ID, did not speak. There was no follow-up, no photograph, just this, retained briefly, then gone. The location of that test site? Directly on the border of where Taured would have existed. The Sleep Speaker, Berlin, 1999. In the winter of 1999, a woman named Elena Gotz, a university student in Berlin, was recorded speaking an unrecognizable language in her sleep. For 3 nights in a row, her roommates noted the same phrases repeated, full, structured sentences. She had no knowledge of another language besides German. A linguist studying sleep-speech phonetics analyzed the audio and described it as not gibberish, not glossolalia, real language with subject-object grammar, intonation, and embedded syntax. Months later, she disappeared. But here's the chilling part. An amateur translation of one of her spoken lines was made by cross-referencing the vocabulary with fragments found in the Taured journal. It read, "The door was opened once. The silence walked through. Now it waits for a name. Naming it." In almost every report linked to Taured, the man, the crest, the coin, the note, the tower logs, the idea of naming appears. That names are remembered. That names give shape. That the spiral remembers names first. In one leaked psychological report of a customs officer who spoke to the man from Taured in 1954, the doctor noted, "He became disturbed when we used his name out loud. He insisted it wasn't his anymore. That we were anchoring him here by saying it. When the doctor asked him what his true name was, he replied, 'Not until the door closes. Or it will hear the sound pattern that matches no earth source.'" In 2020, a low-frequency radio burst was detected by multiple private radio towers in eastern Spain. The burst lasted exactly 3 minutes and 33 seconds and carried a spectrographic signature almost identical to the spiral seal from the Taured passport. But there's more. The pattern loops 7 times. Each loop ends with a downward tonal shift that sounds like breathing. At minute 328, a single human voice can be heard whispering, "We built it wrong, but it remembered how to open. Is the gate still open?" If Project Dendera accidentally cracked space, then what came through? Or more disturbingly, what never left? Because since 1954, there have been other anomalies. People who remember countries that don't exist. Dreams shared across unconnected individuals. Symbols drawn in childhood with no known origin. And sightings of a tall man in a white suit always watching. Sometimes he smiles. Sometimes he stares. And in one documented case in 2011, a child said, "He asked me if I still remembered the exit. I didn't know what he meant, but now I see spirals in the mirror." The real horror isn't that he came through. It's that he might be opening it again from our side. One physicist wrote, "The danger isn't in visitors. It's in reflections. If we recognize him, we might become him." The consulate call. In 2022, a hotel manager in Geneva received a strange call from someone claiming to represent the consulate of Taured, asking to reserve a conference room. When told no such consulate existed, the caller replied, "It does now." The call disconnected. The number was traced. It pinged once, then erased itself. From the center of the spiral formation near Lascaux, a message was left behind. Back in 1954, one document almost no one saw was a customs form. The final signature on the denial of entry form was printed, then crossed out. In its place, written in sharp, confident strokes, "Don't wait for the return. You're already inside." It wasn't signed, but the spiral crest was drawn in the margin. And beneath it, a single word, "Answer." By the 6th time his face appeared on a passport, a photo, or a blurry elevator camera, one thing became clear. The man from Taured wasn't just lost. He was watching. And maybe, just maybe, he was watching us, because now researchers believe something terrifying. We're the ones who crossed over, and he's trying to remind us of where we came from. The Three Mirrors Protocol, France, 1971. In a series of obscure research memos now referred to as the Juvet Papers, a classified project in southern France reportedly tested the effects of prolonged exposure to mirrored light fields. The goal, detect dimensional phase bleed, a phenomenon observed in individuals who reported false memories of non-existent places. The solution? A proposed psychological filter known as the Three Mirrors Protocol. According to the report, subjects sat in a room of angled mirrors under red light. After 33 minutes, many began to speak in unknown dialects. Others would point to their reflections and say, "That's not me. It's the other one." One subject was institutionalized after drawing the Taured spiral across the padded walls of his cell. No one had told him that name. No one had shown him the symbol. When asked where he learned it, he whispered, "He told me. In the reflection. He said he's waiting for you." The Whispering Recording, 2023. In Tokyo, a team of audio engineers working with sleep therapists published an unintentional anomaly. In recordings meant to study the effects of white noise on dreaming, one file captured an unexplained voice embedded in the static. Spectrographic review revealed a low male voice repeating the same phrase. "Where's your passport? Where's your passport? Where's your passport?" The voice was calm, polite, measured. When one technician replied aloud during playback as a joke, saying, "I don't know," the recording glitched violently. The file was deleted from the server within seconds. Corrupted the hard drive. But in the system metadata, the folder now had a new name. Taured_entry_confirmed. No one on the team claimed to have typed it. Do you remember the map wrong? In 2021, a viral thread asked people to draw Europe from memory. Tens of thousands of sketches were collected. 12% of participants, a statistically large number, drew a small country between Spain and France. They called it Taured, 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 Taured. They couldn't agree on the spelling. But their maps were consistent. A small, mountain country, with a spiral sun in the corner. When shown the real-world map, many became visibly disturbed. One user wrote, "It feels like something's been carved out of my memory. Like it was there yesterday and now it's missing." Another added, "We didn't imagine it. We were from there." The Man at the Border, 2024. A customs officer in southern Argentina filed a quiet, unapproved report in March 2024. He claimed a man entered his line with a pristine passport marked Taured, Ministry of Return. When scanned, the document failed. When rescanned, it passed. Then failed again. Then corrupted the terminal. The officer described the man as familiar in a way I couldn't explain. Soft-spoken. Dressed too clean for the road. Before the officer could call a supervisor, the man said, "You won't remember this tomorrow, but the system will." Then he stepped out of line and disappeared from all internal security footage. Even the timestamp showed a gap. 3:33 to 3:34 a.m. No footage, just blank signal. What if you're the one that changed? A new theory now haunts even the skeptics. That we all crossed over, not him. That our world forked, split, glitched, and we didn't notice. Except for the spiral. Except for the way mirrors feel colder lately. How some people don't blink when you expect them to. How a street near your house feels slightly wrong now, like the name changed or the slope is off. And someone familiar is walking just ahead of you, wearing a white suit, watching your reflection instead of your face. The dream that spreads. Psychologists in 3 countries have documented identical dreams in patients who never met. A border checkpoint that isn't real. A passport stamped with a symbol no one can identify. A man asking, "Do you remember your country?" And a spiral carved into the desk where the dream ends. When shown the symbol of the Taured seal, all 3 patients responded the same way. "I've been there, but I don't think I was allowed to leave." So what is he waiting for? Maybe it's not about proof. Maybe it's about recognition. Maybe he doesn't need to return to Taured. Maybe he needs us to say it existed, to remember, to validate the fracture. And once we do, we won't be able to go back either. By now, the man from Taured is no longer just a mystery. He's become a pattern, an infection. One that isn't spreading across geography, but across memory, identity, and data. Where he goes, glitches follow. Silences lengthen. And systems fail in ways no one can explain. This isn't just about him being real. It's about the possibility that he's inside everything we use to prove what's real. The photo that shouldn't exist, Osaka, 2011. A digital forensics analyst named Katsuo Nishi was restoring lost files from a corrupted SD card pulled from an old police evidence locker. The card contained documents from 1954, including scans of immigration logs, photographs, and customs forms. But buried in the folder structure was an unlabeled image. A black and white photo of a passport. It showed the man from Taured's photo. Name redacted by a swirl of distortion. Country, Taured. A stamped entry for France, 1952. And a serial number. 000-333-07-21. What terrified Katsuo wasn't just the photo. It was the metadata. Created July 21, 2033. Modified never. The photo hadn't been taken yet. The serial number pattern. Cybersecurity experts reviewed the passport number. 000-333-07-21. It seemed random until someone broke it into segments. 000 void, erased, unregistered. 333 consistent timestamp in every Taured-linked event. 07-21, the original date of the Tokyo incident, July 21st. When run through a hex to ASCII converter, the numbers produce partial code. Open_port, Taured, verify_pass. The spiral in the blockchain. In 2022, a Swiss blockchain company ran a routine audit of their NFT archives and found duplicate encryption keys embedded within image hash. Each hash contained invisible pixel arrangements. When extracted, they rendered a spiral, distorted but mathematically identical to the Taured crest. These appeared only in lost transactions, failed verifications, corrupted wallets, and expired tokens. The audit team labeled it phantom key residue. One coder joked, "It's like someone signed in from a country that doesn't exist." Another whispered, "Maybe they're trying to buy their way back in." The keys? All originated from a masked IP that geolocated to 0°00N0°00E. The ocean, the center of the world's coordinate grid, a known null point in network mapping. The flight recorder classified until 2020. An aviation crash from 1979 in the Atlantic was recently declassified after pressure from a private investigator. The flight, en route from Paris to Caracas, went missing for 22 minutes before crashing. Black box audio captured normal comms until one phrase repeated at 3:33 a.m. Confirming clearance, Taured re-entry. The voice wasn't any of the crew. It spoke in a different tone. Metallic, measured, like it was responding to someone else. The last words before the plane went silent. "They remember us now. What is the spiral doing in the system?" Patterns showed that spiral artifacts appear most often in government archive crashes, biometric mismatches, unexplainable travel glitches, people denied entry to countries they've visited many times, deepfake detection AIs where false positives have the man's facial features. Some experts now suspect the spiral is more than a symbol. It's code. A linguistic virus written into metadata, not to destroy, but to overwrite what we think is real. The passwords that unlock too much. Reddit users have reported eerie phenomena when using the word Taured in Wi-Fi SIDs, temporary system passwords, Google Maps search bars. One post read, "I made my laptop password Taured 33 as a joke. Now I keep finding screenshots in my files that I never took." Another, "When I typed it into my smart TV, the input froze. Then it said, 'Welcome back, traveler.'" That post was deleted 3 hours later. The account removed. The glitch you can't prove. A web developer created a test site with Taured as the page title. For 3 nights, he logged strange visitor behavior. Repeated visits from unregistered domains. IPs that map to countries that do not exist. HTML code inserted remotely with the phrase, "Exit protocol verified. Echo matching confirmed." His logs were saved. His server was scrubbed the next day. No breach, no hack, just gone. When he restored the logs, he found one last line at the bottom. He knows you're looking. So what's the endgame? One data architect believes Taured isn't a place, not anymore. It's a memory so strong it became code. And now that code is rewriting us. From the inside. Each time we remember him. Speak his name. Draw the spiral. Use the word. The gate cracks open wider. And the system, the world, gets just a little more unfamiliar. A little more warped. A little more like his. As the Taured mystery deepens, it becomes harder to say what is real and who remembers correctly. Maybe it was always meant to be that way. Because the closer people get to the center of the spiral, the more it seems like reality itself is resisting clarity, or maybe something else is doing the resisting. The child who remembered too much, Melbourne, 2023. In a routine psychological evaluation for night terrors, a 6-year-old girl named Amelia began describing a place she'd never been. A land between 2 mountains. People who spoke in sunny sounds. Silver trains without tracks. A city named Tamver. She drew the same spiral over and over in crayon, not taught, not shown. When asked where she learned about it, she said, "From the man in the white suit. He says I came here by mistake." When pressed further, she added, "He says they're fixing it." that they need to switch me back soon. Amelia was born in Australia. She has no travel history, no foreign relatives, but she sometimes whispers in her sleep a language no one can identify. One phrase repeats: replace, replace, replace. The train station that wasn't there, Madrid, 2021. Multiple eyewitnesses reported entering a train station that didn't exist, an underground terminal with no signage, no announcements, no exits. It appeared between two major stops. Passengers said they never felt the train slow down, only that it suddenly wasn't moving. Inside the station, no advertisements, no trash, walls made of mirrored metal, a spiral crest on the turnstile gates. A man was reportedly standing at the far platform, wearing a white suit, holding a silver briefcase. When a passenger asked him for help, he replied, "Not yet. You're still remembered here." The lights flickered, and then the train was moving again. No station was logged in GPS data. No security footage remains. The stream glitch, Seoul, 2022. A popular gaming live stream abruptly froze mid-broadcast. Viewers saw the screen fragment, then warp into a low-resolution spiral. After 7 seconds, the stream resumed, but the chat had locked. Only one word repeated thousands of times from accounts that had never interacted before. Replace. The streamer went silent for 2 days. When he returned, he said, "I saw something. It knew my face. It said I was in the wrong world." He deleted his channel that night. The spiral isn't a warning. It's a protocol. That's what more researchers believe now, that the spiral isn't there to scare us. It's there to signal who doesn't belong, mark points of fracture, trigger memories we were told to forget. One theory: each time someone is replaced by accident or design, the spiral activates to contain the distortion. But lately, the spiral is appearing too often, too publicly. The containment is failing. What are we replacing? Or who? Some sightings describe not just a man in a white suit, but multiple. One woman claimed she saw two of him. Same face, same suit. One walked forward, the other stood still. They passed through each other. Another man, working late in a corporate high-rise, reported a figure staring at him through the mirrored glass of the 37th floor. He looked like me. Not similar exactly like me, but his reflection blinked and I didn't. You feel it, don't you? You've walked into a room and forgotten why. You've looked at a familiar object and felt wrong, like it came from somewhere else. You've had a dream that felt too vivid, with buildings you've never seen but knew how to navigate. You've seen a stranger who looked at you a second too long, and for a moment you recognized them. But not from this life. From somewhere between this world and the one you were meant to be in. The switch theory. Parapsychologist Dr. Leon Helvig proposed the switch theory in 2020. If a person crosses into a version of reality where their original does not exist, they are sustained only as long as the system allows the anomaly, and the longer they remain. Systems break, memory glitches, recurring spiral artifacts begin appearing. At a certain threshold, replacement occurs. Who or what replaces them is unclear, but symptoms before a switch. Obsession with a place you can't prove exists. Dreams of impossible doorways. Repeating numbers, especially 333. The compulsion to draw spirals. The final manifest. In 2024, an unverified document appeared briefly on a darknet node used by whistleblowers. Titled, Repatriation Manifest, Series 3/Cycle Exit Protocol. It listed 33 names. No last names. No countries. But next to each was a line that read, Memory unstable, replace pending. One of the names? Amelia. And at the bottom of the page, a signature in elegant script. Ministry of Taured, Echo Division. The page was wiped in under 30 seconds. And the spiral turns. It's appearing more frequently. In photo glitches. In dreams. In data. In reflections. Not as a symbol, but as a replacement key. You might think you're you, but ask yourself, when was the last time you saw your reflection blink after you did? By now, the spiral is no longer a symbol buried in old passports or dreams. It's everywhere. In broken timestamps. In corrupted files. In people who swear their city had a different name last year. And one theory has begun to surface among those who dare to trace the spiral back to its center. The man from Taured wasn't trying to return home. He was trying to be forgotten. The emergency alert that shouldn't have happened, Oregon, 2024. On February 3rd, during a routine statewide emergency alert system test, TV and radio stations were briefly hijacked. Instead of the standard test tone, the following occurred. A low humming began, exactly 33 hertz. Then a voice, low, calm, male, speaking a language no expert has yet identified. Finally, a phrase in clear, cold English. Asterisk, I do not belong. I do not remain. You were not supposed to follow. Asterisk. The spiral symbol flickered on screen, faint and gray, behind the text. Protocol incomplete. The message lasted 3 minutes, 33 seconds. FCC logs show no origin point. The entire system had been offline for maintenance at the time. The final handwritten letter. An unmarked envelope arrived at a private postal box in Geneva in early 2024, addressed to no one. Inside, the page of thick white paper, the hand-drawn spiral, the signature, T. The letter read, asterisk, every time you remember me, I stay a little longer. That's the mistake. You were meant to forget me, that was the deal. Memory is the cage. The spiral is the key. The more of me you keep, the less of yourselves there is left. Asterisk. The return address? A building that burned down in 1955. The spiral is a memory virus. Experts are now calling it a cognitive payload, a sequence of shape and sound designed to embed in memory and overwrite identity. Dr. Mira Nayak, a cognitive researcher, explains, the spiral acts like a looping command. When you see it, your brain begins trying to solve it, to complete it. But the spiral has no end, so it uses your thoughts instead. And the thoughts that come aren't yours. This could explain the surge of identity confusion, false location memories, repetitive dream architecture, obsession with non-existent places, and why so many of those affected eventually vanish or become someone else. What the replacements say. Interviews with people experiencing identity fugues linked to Taured phenomena reveal chilling consistencies. Many draw spirals without prompting. Several speak of a city on the ridge between sky and snow, and nearly all describe a man who visits in their dreams. They call him the listener, the mirror walker, the traveler, the remembered. In every case, they claim he asks the same question. Would you like to go back now? One patient responded yes. She woke up speaking a language no one could decipher. Her last words before slipping into silence. He said I could go back, but someone else would have to stay. The forgotten footage, Tokyo, 1954. A film reel was discovered mislabeled in the NHK archives. Dated July 21, 1954, the same day as the original Taured incident. The 8mm footage appears normal. Passengers disembarking, airport staff working. Then a single frame, only one, shows a man turning to look directly at the camera. White suit, spiral pin, eyes blurred unnaturally, as if motionless in a world in motion. The reel ends abruptly. Tape analysis revealed no editing, but the film had a burn mark in the shape of a spiral. The true purpose of the spiral? Some believe it's a containment seal, others a memory lock. But a growing theory is far worse. The spiral isn't trying to contain him, it's trying to contain us. That every time we think of him, search for him, speak his name, we unravel ourselves just a little more, until one day we wake up and don't remember who we were before. So what happens if everyone remembers? If the spiral is powered by collective memory, and it's showing up in more places, and more people are dreaming of cities that don't exist, then maybe the question isn't who was the man from Taured, but how long until the world becomes Taured, not as a place, but as the default. And when that day comes, we won't call it strange. We'll just say we've always lived there. There's no resolution, no arrest, no real name, only a spiral, a silent man in a white suit, and a truth no one wants to hear. Because the man from Taured didn't just vanish. He's still here. And now, maybe, so are you. The final sighting, Berlin, April 2024. At exactly 3:33 a.m., CCTV footage from Berlin Hauptbahnhof, Central Station, caught a man standing perfectly still in the middle of a closed platform. He was barefoot, wearing a white suit, holding a silver briefcase. The footage shows no train arriving, no doors opening, no one else nearby, and then a flicker. In the next frame, he's gone. Not walked off, not obstructed, gone. Later enhancement of the footage revealed something more disturbing. For one single frame, every digital clock on the platform showed the time as midnight, and the display screen behind him glitched into a single word: replaced. The voice that matched yours. 3 nights after the sighting, a woman in London received a voicemail from her own number, not spoofed, literally from her own phone, which had been on silent all night. The message lasted 33 seconds. The voice? Her own. But it said, "You don't belong here. You're only real because I stopped being. They'll come soon, and you'll feel the blink. Don't follow it. Don't answer when it asks your name. If you do, it will replace you completely." The spiral's true purpose. All signs now point to a horrifying conclusion. The spiral is not a symbol, not a key, not even a warning. It's a bootstrap loop, a self-reinforcing anomaly that replaces those who look too closely. Not with imposters, with something else. Something cleaner, more compliant, less likely to ask questions like, where am I really from? Why do I dream in languages I don't speak? Why doesn't my reflection blink with me? The spiral is how it recognizes us. The glitch, the leftover, the one that wandered too far into a world they weren't born in. The last entry. In a recovered page from the so-called Taured journal, there is a short, final message. It doesn't want me back. It wants to be me. I left the door open too long. Now it knows the words. It wears my shape, and it answers to my name. Tell them not to remember me. Memory is how it moves. The spiral is closing. Researchers monitoring digital artifacts noticed something chilling. Spiral appearances have slowed. Dreams have grown more consistent. Reports of glitches are fewer, not because they've stopped, but because people don't notice them anymore. One AI trained to detect anomaly reports in news headlines began flagging missing memory patterns not as errors, but as successful overwrites. Its final log before shut off read, "All corrected. All replaced. You are real now." So who was the man from Taured? A traveler? A diplomat from a vanishing country? A memory trying to stay alive? Or was he never a person at all? Just the first wave, the seed, the crack in the mirror, and you watching the series. You've said his name. You've followed the spiral. You've remembered too much. So maybe the final question isn't, where did he go? Maybe it's, how long until you do too? And if you wake up somewhere else? With a passport from a country that doesn't exist, a spiral on your wrist, and no one who remembers your name, then don't panic. Just find the man in white. He'll tell you what to do next.